you should expect an edit letter from your editor. And so sometimes what you might see on social media that I've seen quite a bit is people talking about, oh, they got feedback from their editor, but it's like, it looks like a Google comment, like off to the side. So that's like an inline comment. And there's nothing stopping like editors from having that included in the document that they get from their client, but you should also be getting a separate document that is really like the analysis portion of working with a developmental editor. And it's going to look different every time because it's specific to you, and it should be specific to you. It should be about your story, referencing your characters. Maybe it's quoting some of the passages that you wrote. But you can tell when you read it that somebody read your book and is analyzing it, and it's not like very generic feedback. It shouldn't read like how you would read a craft book. That's like general advice on writing. It's like I read the craft book on writing techniques, and I'm picking out specific sections and saying like, this is how you could apply that in your story.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Untitled Work in Podcast. I'm your co-host Darcy.
And I'm your co-host Lauren.
And with us today is Amanda Ascencio, a developmental editor with over 12 years of experience in the business of storytelling. She's worked in many areas of talent representation, content development, television production, and strategic publicity. And she's also a founder of From Page One. She works with emerging and self-publishing authors, concentrating on fantasy, romantasy, sci-fi, contemporary romance, and so much more. But today she's joining us as our developmental editor. So Amanda, will you let us know a little bit about the burning question of what is developmental editing?
Yeah, especially for people who I think like maybe just have an idea of like an editor is an editor. Like it's broken down into so many categories. And so in developmental editing, it's kind of like the first stop if you write a book is like you kind of need somebody to take a look at it as a whole and look at the structure as the character arcs and how everything kind of blends together versus something like a line editor or a proofreader where they're looking at the sentence level or the grammar or the typos, which I kind of think is the most well-known type of editing, but then like a couple steps back is me.
Yeah. And a very needed it is.
Yes. I actually had no idea. I think me and Lauren both, was like 3 months ago, we were like, did you know there's multiple kinds of editors?
Well, the funny thing is I knew more about developmental editing because that's what I have done for some friends in the past, not like as a true editor, but like helping them like with development portions of their stuff. But I wasn't really as aware about the copy editing, line editing, because I had also done that for them after we did the development editing portion of things. And so it was just like, oh, dang, like, yeah, there are actual like separate positions that like different people do, not the same person usually.
Yeah, usually not the same person. And usually even to like if you get like if you're lucky enough to get like a traditionally published deal at a publishing company, they will set you up with their in-house. So there'll be people at a publishing company who do developmental editing, who do the line editing, who do proofreading. And then there's a whole other type of editor that's like a production editor where they're working on like the graphics and like the formatting and so everybody's an editor at a publishing house. If you kind of like have ever looked at like the About Us section, it's like managing editor, editor-in-chief, and it's just like everybody's an editor, It's like Oprah.
That's
like,
so funny.
Everybody gets the title.
You get an editing position. You get an editing position. You get one.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you're the first step in the editing process.
Yeah. So because generally, if you need to tweak like big portions of your manuscript, you don't want to have to already like go through proofreading of a section that you might omit entirely, right? So like you kind of, it's like if you have to get ready for an event, you're gonna take a shower before you like do your hair and get dressed. You're not gonna like do that the other way around, So you want to start with like the biggest round of revisions first, and then go into like tweaking the smaller portions as you get closer and closer to a final draft. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay. That definitely makes sense. That's really cool. So, that's like would that be like, I guess, world building stuff, right? Because I know, like you find like the plot holes, the world building, the character developmental
Yeah.
things. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I generally focus on first just the overall structure. So, like, how each, act, 3 acts usually is kind of what I break it down into at first, unless some other structure fits that better. But generally, everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, how does that flow all together? How the character arcs, are they moving throughout the story, or are there parts where it lags, where it maybe is like, or maybe there's like a subplot that feels disconnected from the main plot, so it feels maybe like, I love this character, but every time that we're like hanging out with them, it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, world building, especially in fantasy, but also in contemporary too.
Authors that want to be commercially successful, I guess.
Sure.
What is why would they seek out a developmental editor first, I
Yeah.
guess, or in general?
Yeah. That also kind of feeds into, I think, the idea of like, oh, like I need to like spend money on an editor if I want to be successful too. Like, and that's not necessarily true. Like, especially because if you're maybe somebody who wants to self-publish, then you're really having to make decisions on where you're spending your time, where you're spending your budget. And developmental editing can be really, really expensive. Not always, but compared to something like line editing or proofreading, it's usually double the price per
Okay.
word, because it's so much more intensive than just fixing a sentence, throughout your whole story. It's looking at everything, and often I'm writing like 20, 30 pages of like deep analysis about
Oh, wow.
my client's work, and so it's really, really digging into every single aspect in detail. What's working, what's not, suggestions for how to fix it or how to tweak certain parts of the story. Like, you can't really like replicate that experience, and a line editor or a proofreader, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna fix like the areas of like, I can make the sentence better, but that doesn't necessarily mean that fix is going to make the whole book work better. It'll just sound better, which is not to
Gotcha.
like disparage other
No.
editors. It's all
Yeah.
it's all part of like the behind
Yeah.
the scenes that goes into when you read like a finished book that you're like totally in love with. It's because it's been through so many rounds of people like dissecting from the big picture to the little picture to make it all in line with what the author is trying to convey.
Yeah,
it's like
oh,
the building
absolutely.
blocks.
Yeah, yeah. Amanda, can you touch on two things just in what you said? One, what can writers or what should writers expect from an editor from a development standpoint of like, because you'd mentioned like you can be writing up to 20 to 30 pages of like deep synopsis of notes and thoughts and all that stuff. So if you can walk us through that,
Yeah.
that'd be super helpful. And then can you also walk us through the per word comment you mentioned? Because I think
Yeah.
that might throw people off or they may not understand like how budgeting is done or like how to budget for
Sure.
that element of like, because you see this across most of the like professional editors websites is that the budgets are broken out by per word, but I'll let you dive into all that. I don't want to get us off track.
Yeah. So your first question was like what to expect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, every edit letter that I write, and that's also just to even back up 1 second there, is you should expect an edit letter from your editor. And so sometimes what you might see on social media that I've seen quite a bit is people talking about, oh, they got feedback from their editor, but it's like, it looks like a Google comment, like off to the side. So that's like an inline comment. And there's nothing stopping like editors from having that included in, the document that they get from their client, but you should also be getting a separate document that is really like the analysis portion of working with a developmental editor. And it's going to look different. every time because it's specific to you, and it should be specific to you. It should be about your story, referencing your characters. Maybe it's quoting some of the passages that you wrote, but you can tell when you read it that somebody read your book and is analyzing it, and it's
Yeah.
not like very generic feedback. It shouldn't read like how you would read a craft book. That's like general
Okay.
advice on writing.
Yeah.
It's like I read the craft book on writing techniques, and I'm picking out specific sections and saying like this is how you could apply that in your story.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Nice. Nice.
And so for the per word, that's generally there's like a range for what's like an appropriate rate that you can charge for a client. I am actually a member of the Editorial Freelancers Association, which is an online nonprofit organization, sometimes in person too, with members from all over the country.
Yeah.
And we're all freelancers of all different types. So, like, I work in fiction, genres, and there's people who work with academic papers. And on their website, they also publish, and I'm not sure if it's available to the public. I might have to like fact check that for you, but they do have like a rates page,
Oh, cool.
and
Nice.
if it's available to the public, then you can go in there and check and at least get an idea for like the kind of editing that you're looking for. What's like an appropriate range to
Yeah.
be paying?
Yeah.
Because it also depends on like each editor individually.
Yeah.
Like me, like I work freelance, so I set my own rates, and it often varies project to project based on what the scope is of the project. Like some
Okay.
books are longer, some books are shorter, some people want more support or less. And that differs from like an in-house developmental editor, because the only way that you can work with them is to get a publishing deal.
Right.
You can't
right.
just hire somebody who works at Penguin Random House to edit your book. It doesn't,
Yeah.
Dang it.
You
That's
have
what I
to-
was going for on my minimal budget.
unfortunately.
No, that totally
Although
makes
maybe.
sense.
Yeah.
I'd be so shocked if I could find one. Maybe some season we'll end up the trad route and we'll bring on trad people to talk about that stuff. And they'll be like, none of you can access me, so why am I here? No, but that's really
Yeah.
helpful to know, because I think just it's spot on what you're saying, Amanda, of like people should know what a range will be. It's not every editor does not need to charge the same thing, because some people are more experienced, some people are rebuilding or building their networks, some people like there's such a wide variety. People need different levels of help, different levels of experience, and so there is, or there should be an idea of a range, or like some sort of element where it's like, it's not, you will get people up here and you will get people down here, but this is where most people end up living, and this is where most writers will hopefully end up being. If it is a commercial one, like Darcy had said, something that's commercially successful, or something that people are wanting to be commercially successful.
Yeah. And it's also like in a lot of ways too, it's part of a negotiation, So if I mean, I have no problem kind of saying this publicly, but if the interaction with the client is already starting from a combative place, I know that's not going to be a great relationship
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so
Gotcha.
I am going to quote a higher rate, because then it's going to have to be worth my time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thankfully, so grateful. All the people that I've worked with are like incredible women, and like really just like want to learn, want to like have a very deep relationship. And so
Great.
I've
Aw.
not been in that position, but
Yeah.
Good.
that exists for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's also just if you are an author talking to an editor and the vibe does not feel there, or feel like it's there, or you feel like
Yeah.
you are having to explain really hard, or you're feeling frustrated at the way that the conversation is going, then like it's probably not a good fit. So go find someone who is a good fit, because there's so many talented editors out there that it's like, why just keep banging
Yeah.
your head against a wall when, your person is out there that you can work with. And also maybe just thinking through like, how do I not be combative in these conversations? Like,
I mean, that's also part of it too, is that like, I think I liken it a little bit to like maybe dating or finding a therapist, where
Yeah.
you have to kind of maybe kiss a couple frogs to find the right
Yeah.
fit, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but once you do, it's a really like rewarding
Yeah.
experience. And I think too, like as far as like what to maybe like look for or something would be you want to get a sense from any like preliminary conversations or anything that your editor really like respects your work and you know, is coming to it with a sense of like understanding that like sharing writing is can be a very vulnerable experience, and
Yeah.
at least they respect that, you know. And
Yeah.
like I reiterate so often that just like the people that I work with, like they know their story best. And I have my own, you know, opinion that's formed from my professional experience and my work history and my own understanding of the genre that they're writing in. But my suggestions are, at the end of the day, they're just suggestions.
Yeah.
They're just,
Right.
you know, I'm offering a way to think about a couple of ideas to improve the work where our mutual goal is a strong story.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before of like an editor puts in so much time and effort into a story that I mean their goal is going to be that it's a great story. So their goal is like if you found someone who gets you and communicates well with you in the way that you understand best, like the goal for everybody is to create a story that is fantastic, you know, to create something that
Yeah.
is really well done, that is compelling and connects with readers.
We're all on that becomes our work. So
Well, not always. There's no
Oh.
obligation to credit an editor.
really,
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
did not know that. That's super interesting.
I know, right? It's like you have to kind of credit a graphic designer usually in like the front matter, like around like the copyright page and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Because in a way too, it's like I can work with somebody and like I don't know, let's say like I contract with them and like I'm getting paid by the author, but I don't participate in the like financial success of the book. And so they could very well like be like, thanks for your notes. I'm not taking any of them.
Oh, interesting.
You know?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Like they have no obligation to
Yeah.
follow
Right.
my suggestions either. And so like you also kind of like you want to obviously like hopefully you would have done your due diligence and like had a conversation with
Yeah.
this editor so that like you're kind of on the same page and it seems like, you know. But yeah, no, it very well could just be that like, oh, they after reading didn't actually understand my vision at all, and this is not how I want to like move forward with my project. And that's fair, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
tough for me, but whatever.
Yeah, that actually
Right.
sounds very similar to the film industry. So one thing that screenwriters run into a lot, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with this, Amanda, since you've got some experience in the film industry as well, is that you can have a ton of uncredited screenwriters because if a screenplay that you've written moves on to someone else and they rewrite just enough of it, you no longer get credited or get royalties. You got paid for the work that you did at the time, but you are now no longer the top writer or the head writer or the named writer. It's a little different for TV because you have a writing team, but it's like for movies at least, I know that like you can actually just be like, oh, I wrote that, and now I'm no longer the top person because they brought somebody else in and they wanted that vision more, kind of a thing, or they rewrote enough of it that now I'm off.
Yeah, yeah, completely. But I think the difference too is that even if, like, the flip side could be that like a client an author would take all of my suggestions and they still have no obligation to credit me. They would make like I don't know. I've seen some people like they thank their editors in the acknowledgments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people do. I would say that like there is definitely a change where I have seen a couple people at the beginning will put like this has been edited by, so and so at this company, and they don't say more than that, and so. I think in general that means that they had a positive experience, because I don't know that if you had like a negative one, you would be like very willing to put their name on your book.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that like an industry standard then is that the editor's name will go in the acknowledgments but not the front page copyright section?
I don't know. I think I think that really comes down, I think, to like author preference, especially in like self-published. I think that when
Okay.
you kind of look at stuff that's more like hybrid and traditionally published, like there's that tends to be more in the acknowledgments.
Okay.
Also because the publishing company itself is very well represented in the front matter. You know,
Sure. Okay.
it's embedded in the copyright that like that's who owns the copyright of the book,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And so then they'll kind of like, you'll see sometimes they'll detail like, oh, my team at whoever, you know, this person, this
Yeah.
person, this
Yeah. Yeah.
person. And
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
That's
Did
so
not know any
curious.
of
I
that.
did not know that. Yeah.
I don't work with anybody who's traditionally published yet. So, you know, I
Yeah.
guess we'll see. There's going to, I think, be maybe a little bit of a gray area in the next couple of years where if you do hire somebody like freelance to developmental edit your book and then you query and then you're successful,
How does that work?
who's to say, you know, whose edits, like, you know, contributed to the quality of the piece?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I did hear on another writing podcast. These are two trad. The hosts are two trad authors, and they were saying that one very little known fact within the trad side of things is that you can actually go out and hire a freelance editor if you don't want the in-house person, or if the in-house person isn't strong enough in the editing portion of things, because they were saying that some are much better at like navigating the game or the system of like trad publishing and getting everybody on board with it, but they're a little bit less strong in some of the developmental editing or like the actual editing portion of things, which is bizarre in my mind. But you can actually go out and hire someone, you know, from like the Freelance Editors Association, or like you can hire a freelance editor to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's, I mean, I think that all that also comes down to like what have you negotiated in your, you know, publishing contract with that company. But I think in general, whenever you kind of hear an author publicly talk about like my editor, my longtime editor, this person
Yeah.
that I've worked with for years and years, it's
Yeah.
their developmental editor, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the person who like it tends to be this like arena where you forge really like lifelong or really long lasting relationships
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like you're sharing such like a
Yeah.
early draft that you I don't know, it's like trauma bonding or something. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I guess, yeah, because when you get it, nobody else has seen it but the person who's written it. So they're like trusting you with this thing that they've poured everything into. So I can see that that would be a really deep connection that you'd form with them if you guys all worked together really well.
yeah, there's been definitely situations where, you know, I'll read a manuscript of something that somebody's maybe shared with their partner and they're really close friends, and now me, right? Where it's like, we're just starting to build this relationship, and now it's like, here's a piece of my soul, you know? And
Yeah.
especially for people who like, you know, I think everybody who wants to be a writer has that like one idea that's been like sitting in their brain since like childhood or adolescence, right? And so like when
Yeah.
you finally have the draft of that to share with somebody who's not like so like immediately in your circle is like you have to respect, you know, that like this is beyond just a book that somebody wrote. This is like a very deep part of themselves.
It's very personal.
Yeah. It's very personal, very scary. Very scary thing to do. So,
Well, do you feel that way? Like when you share stuff that you've written, do you feel scared still? Like, because now
So
you've published,
scared.
right? Like the novella?
yeah, I remember me and Lauren back and forth before we published it, and then when we were waiting for that 72-hour mark to hit for it to show up on Amazon, we were both like, people are going to read this. People are
Yeah.
people are going to know this part of us that we've put out there into the world.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
And I will say that since we just did the novella as almost as like not a writing exercise purely, but like as a way for us to build the characters, to build a space for people to connect with the characters if they wanted to, with it being like a prequel meet cute novella. We weren't able to bring on an editor, which I know is always an important role to bring on, but for this project we just decided not to. And for us, or at least for me, I won't say for both of us, I was like, oh gosh, nobody has checked us to see if this is good or bad. Like, oh gosh, like what if it gets out there and everyone's like, you suck at writing? Like,
This is a
it's
bad
almost like
story.
showing up for work and being
Yeah.
like, for a job, and it's like your first day there, but you already know the job, but you're like, oh gosh, does anyone think I can do the job? Nobody thinks I can do the job. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I totally understand that. I think kind of to your point too, where, it's not always possible to hire an editor or even anybody else to, to be on, contribute something to your book. I
Yeah.
think like,
Yeah.
there's a reason why so many people are still, going after traditionally published
Oh,
books
yeah.
is because
Yeah.
it comes with a whole team of people who
Yes.
are experts.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you know nothing about the industry, then it really helps, to like rely on somebody else's expertise. But yeah, that doesn't mean that you can't still self-publish. And I think that it
Yeah.
just kind of comes down to like, you have to kind of look for alternative ways to get the type of feedback that you would by working with an editor. And so like, I have no problem like telling people in my DMs all the time who are like, I really like, I love my book. I'm so passionate about my book, and I feel like I have to work with an editor, but like I don't have the budget. And it's like, well, I'm not like, I can sometimes work for free, but not all the time.
No.
And I
Yeah.
have to, it has to be really like specific, and I
Yeah.
do need to pay rent and bills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but that being said, like, maybe look into joining a writers group, either like in person or online, or a critique group, or
Yeah.
there's those other places like you can try to network maybe with other authors, and maybe somebody will do you a favor. You have to kind of like find your way through it, and some people even will do like a call online for like beta readers, because then
Yeah.
that's at least like a pool of people who are like, available to read your book and give you feedback, and it's free. So
Yeah. Yeah.
generally, some people charge, but I
What?
don't
Yeah.
think you should pay
What?
for it.
They charge you to be your beta reader?
I've seen that, and
I think that's where you get into the reader turned editor, though, type issues that you run
sure.
into. Because I think because beta readers, I feel like those really started out as just people that were passionate about reading people's stories and like
Yeah.
helping any way they could, because they're obviously not formally trained like you
Yeah.
are. But I feel like the ones that when they start charging but they're calling themselves a beta reader, that's very much becomes a reader turned editor type situation where you have to be careful.
yeah, for sure. And that's also like one of the, there are positive and negatives to both, right? Where it's like you can spend your money to hire a developmental editor, and it's like a very much like a one-on-one experience. But the con there is it's one experience, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no way that I as one person can deliver 25 different, opinions on your book for you. Like
Yeah.
I'm only one, and
Yeah.
so sometimes for some people having like a variety of opinions and thoughts is really like preferred. But
Makes
you're
sense.
also then taking the gamble
Yes.
that the people who are beta reading for you, like while lovely and very nice, there's also no obligation that they give you feedback or even read your book. There's no like, how do you stop them from putting your book into AI and like churning out like a kind of summary or something, like regardless of however people stand on AI, like that's also like you shouldn't be putting your work in the hands of like for somebody else to then
Yeah.
use it, like
Yeah.
That's weird.
especially an editor. Like
didn't
I would
even
say that's
know
like
that.
number one tip is like make sure that there's like a no AI clause in the contract that you sign.
Yeah.
That's good to know,
because
yeah.
if like nothing's stopping you from using AI on your own work, right? But like you shouldn't be paying for somebody else to
Yeah,
to
no.
do that.
No.
That's just silly.
That's so weird. Well, going
You
back
could
to
just
your
do
like
that yourself.
Yeah. Going back to your therapist metaphor, Amanda, it feels like hiring a developmental editor is like going and hiring a therapist, like someone that you find that you trust, that's trained, that knows how to help guide you through the process, versus like beta readers feel like you got like 5 of your girlfriends together and you're like, here's all my stuff that I'm dealing with. And like they can help and they can like kind of try and guide and walk you through or give you ideas of like what they've dealt with. But like the therapist or the editor is like the one that's been trained on how to know and figure out how to walk you through stuff.
Yeah, and I think like to that point too, where if you are just kind of outsourcing like what potential problems might be in your book to like this big group of people, you're also then trying to like interpret their feedback in a way that's helpful to you.
Yeah.
Versus like I can go back and forth if I'm like, you know, you gave me a heist story, nothing gets stolen. Here are some suggestions. I don't like those suggestions, Amanda. Okay, well then here's some more, you know, like, okay, let's try this angle into it, or like, let's figure out these beats. And so I can kind of like go back and be like, okay, well, this one avenue that we kind of explored isn't maybe the right solution for you. So let's try other techniques or, you know, other information. So you're not necessarily going to get that from beta readers, although you might, you know, like there's definitely people out there who don't work at all with any really kind of editor. And they just have like their core team of people who are beta readers. That, you know, it also kind of depends on like, did you come into writing novels from a publishing background or like a screenwriting background, or are you already like a professional writer and now you're writing books where like you have a leg up on like the average person, you know?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just depends.
Question for you. Where do beta readers, if someone were to use beta readers for helping matte finish their like get their manuscript to a more matte, not a polished finish, but like a more matte section, when would they come into play? Is a beta reader helpful before they get to a developmental editor? Are they helpful even after or during the same like timing as a developmental editor? Is there a point in time in the editing or the writing process where you find them to actually be helpful or more helpful?
Yeah, it's not an either or, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to pay for an editor so that I, you know, there's no obligation either way, you know, like, and so, I would say that like, what's really, really helpful with beta readers is getting a broader sense of like whether there are elements of your story that you're trying to communicate and if it's landing.
Okay.
Like across a broader audience, right? And so like I think the most like well-known example that I know, and I think I heard on a different podcast, was Penn Cole, who's the author of like Spark of the Everflame, like an ongoing like romantasy series that's very popular on TikTok. She talked about how she went through a rewrite process on her first book because beta readers were like attaching the main character to like a love interest that she didn't have in mind for the
Interesting.
So she noticed that like, oh, people are really attached to this like one guy, and I need this book to like not go in that direction because in book 2 she gets a different love interest or something like that. No spoilers. Pretty big spoiler, but whatever. And so like that's the kind of like feedback where that's really helpful to understand like if it's translating broadly. But yeah, it's definitely also like dependent on who you get and how you get them and if they're good or not, and there's so many things that go into it that are kind of out of your control, you know, versus like you can like choose specific editors to research and work with, but the alternative isn't really true. You kind of, in a way, like you're either working with people who you know, like your friends or family who are doing you a favor maybe, or colleagues or people that you secure on social media, I guess, you know, like and then who knows who they are and what they read, you know, like because ideally what you want is beta readers who are very well read in the genre that you're writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's going to be
That's
my
the
homework
best,
after
yeah.
this. I'm going to go look for a beta reader platform that doesn't utilize AI to find people who like these types of books.
Well, if you find it,
Tumblr's
let
a
me
good
know.
place.
Okay, we'll do. And if any of the listeners know about it, please comment so I don't have to go look.
I know.
Save me
Well,
hours
maybe
of
on,
research.
Tumblr would be a good spot to start.
Well,
Is it
you're the
still,
only one
like,
with account.
It's not as alive as it used to be. But it's
Yeah.
definitely like
It's a zombie.
I mean, I've written everybody that listens knows this. I've written fan fiction. I read fan fiction, the whole thing. Tumblr is where I found my beta readers because I found other people who were passionate about the characters that I wrote about, so they would be the ones that would read it.
If you
So-
like put out a call right now, like how many beta readers do you think you can get like in a week?
For our story specifically, the one that we're writing now, or
Just like for if you were just like, I need beta readers. Is anybody interested or available?
I have 3 that I know for a fact would respond, that I've worked with in the past, that I just know that they'll just respond to anything that I write because they just like my writing.
That's great.
But that's a really deep relationship too, with the beta readers in a similar way. Not, of course, as similar to what you do, but you have to trust them with what you're writing. You have to
Yeah.
trust them with what they're reading.
No, it's the same. It's the same. Yeah, yeah.
Well, now I'm
It's a
freaked
little
out. They're all going
scary.
to give it to AI. I got to put an AI clause in everything.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, I didn't
Make our
even think
beta readers
about
sign
this.
a contract.
I will. It's just
Yeah,
AI.
it's
If they're not going to do it anyways, why would they not sign it? Like, that's my
That's
thought.
true. Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to come
A lot
after
of
them.
a lot of the beta reader experience I have is like Google Docs, right? Like they'll like highlight and they'll comment on the Google Docs as they go, their responses, their reactions. A lot of like what Lauren does through her editing, the first rundown of her editing process.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. I don't get like the overall breakdown. There's a few that like if you create that really deep connection, you'll go back and forth on a scene with. But that's you just have
Yeah.
to create the connection, the relationship, like you would with a developmental editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's really good even that you have like, you know, a group of people where like they're also very familiar with your writing too, like where I'm at a disadvantage, you know, where a lot of people that I work with, it's their first project, or maybe they do have other writing that's like a different style, like a short story or something, or a blog that they've published where like I can kind of get a sense for like how they write, but not fully if it's not fiction. And so like that's actually in a way maybe more helpful to you than a developmental editor, because even if they don't, you know, maybe they're not going to write like 5 pages about like the marketability of your book, you know, like they're still going to know you and they've read obviously enough to like love you as a writer. And so like that's valuable, worthy feedback still.
Yeah.
It's a good alternate if you can't afford the developmental editor stage.
Yeah. And I will say too that like it's not always like, you know, you have to like go all in and do a full edit. A lot of developmental editors will offer like a manuscript evaluation. And so that's like not as full gas as like, you know, 20-30 pages like all about your book. But that'll often be offered for like a lower price. And then that also if you have the money that you want to spend and you're like really considering working with this person, then you know, that might be an option if they offer it. And it could also be part of the negotiation too, you know, where it's like, I really like your work. If you're available, would you be able to do a manuscript evaluation rather than a full edit pass?
Nice.
That's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing that was offered. So that's pretty awesome.
I don't offer it mostly because I can't stop yapping, so it just feels like, you know, like It's like I tried so hard like to like condense it, and it's like here's like 25 pages.
Oh no.
It happened again, like
Me though. That's why I got a podcast with Lauren.
I know, right? We're just chatters. We usually end up talking for like 40 minutes before we even start recording. Then we're like, oh wait, we should have been recording this whole time.
Yeah.
We did that this morning.
We did.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of all these different things that you offer, what are some things that authors can bring to you or to any other developmental editor in order to make the process smoother, to help them? I mean, we've talked about, vetting people, kind of that dating concept of like, see if you communicate well, if you vibe well together. But what are things once you find that editor that an author can bring to you to make the process work smoother and give you what you need to be set up for success?
Yeah, I mean, that's also kind of hard because really what you need to bring to the process is like your attitude, like your willingness to be open to feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah, right? Because it's like if you're like really honest with yourself and you think like I can't envision somebody telling me I need to like fix something with this character because it's so close to me. You're just you're not ready, and it's not worth, in spending any money at that point because, it's like you have to kind of hit like a level of like separation, maybe like from your book or something.
Yeah.
And I think that like, I don't know. I think in general,
it's just very relatable.
Did I trigger you right now? I'm so sorry.
No, I was just thinking back on the nostalgia of you when Lauren was going through the editing process, and sometimes I would take it very personally.
Oh, I could tell too. She'd be like, "You hate me. You hate my guts." It'd be like the next 5 responses to comments would be like, "No, let me have this. You hate me."
Well, the "you hate me" ones were jokes, but like it would be. But there would be like 5 comments back to back, and then eventually I'd get to like the 5th one, and I'm like, okay, just tell me you hate what I'm writing, and we'll go from there. So
it's a process.
Open mind is important.
Yeah, especially because like, and I acknowledge this too, where it's like I can't help but like just go into like detail, but and then I get to the other side of an edit letter, and I'm like, they're gonna think I tore this whole book to shreds, like, and that's not really the case. I'm very positive. I tend to love everything that I read. I fall so deeply into stories, but I mean, like, that's just me, whatever. I don't remember what like the original question was. What were we talking about?
We're talking about like what can authors bring to a developmental editor in order to set you guys up for success on your end. So just kind of that open mind and the willingness to hear and receive feedback and actually like take it into consideration.
An open mind and a finished manuscript. Yeah.
It's real simple, guys. Just finish the book and listen.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it all to heart, but just listen.
And I will sometimes work on like a partial manuscript, but it kind of has to be like I've written a full draft and then tried to edit it myself, and I'm stuck in this, piece.
Interesting.
So you're coming to it with like I want to kind of focus on this rather than like help me write the end of my book. I can't do that. Oh, and I'm not gonna do that.
No. That's your job. You're the writer.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You gotta get there on your own, even if it's bad. You gotta get there. Yeah.
Yes, just write it bad. We say that all the time. Just write it, even if it's bad. You can't edit something that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, out of curiosity, what is your thoughts on the querying process? Do you have any feedback for authors on that process or how that goes, or any thoughts on it just from your time in all those different backgrounds that you've been able to experience?
Sure. Yeah. So, I think with a lot of people that I work with, especially for people who like like I said, like don't know the business of publishing, because it's its own industry beyond, you know, like behind the scenes, beyond just what you kind of see.
Yeah, it's business.
And yeah, and so like any business, like, you know, the typical kind of things apply where like it's really beneficial to network, it's really beneficial to know people. You know, you do kind of have to have an understanding of like how things work so that you're, you know, coming into a new relationship maybe with like a literary agent or something with some kind of knowledge. You know, like you don't want to be so green, it just doesn't benefit you. Like you're more
Okay.
likely to sign a
Yeah.
bad contract if you're like not, you don't know what to look out for.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where there is a little bit of like a gray area with like, you know, working with somebody like me or a colleague of mine or something, where we do have that like that knowledge or some experience to varying degrees, to where like you could also just like ping questions to somebody, you know, of like, does this make sense? Is this a reputable person? Like they're just reaching out to me on Instagram. Like, who is that? And so in general, like what querying is and what it means is that you have written a book that you're really happy with and you want to submit it to a literary agent for representation. Because the bigger publishing companies that you want to try to get a contract with are only going to review books
Yeah.
that are represented.
Yeah.
And so it's
Right.
a little bit of like a chicken or the egg, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't get seen without a lit agent. You know, lit agent, I don't know. There's like a whole thing. And so
Yeah.
it's a really hard process to break into, mostly because so many people are trying to do it. There's a lot of competition. And in a way, too, like with querying, I think people just kind of really, the biggest mistake that I see is rushing into it and really like you have to like take your time, be patient, do a lot of research, like a lot of research on the specific agents that you
Yeah. Yeah.
want to go for. Not just, I want to go for like Sarah J. Maas's agent. Of course, everybody wants Sarah J. Maas's agent. Like you're going up against like you're trying to get Taylor Swift tickets, you know, when there's one ticket left. You know, it's like
Oh gosh.
it's going to be impossible. Like you're going to have to win the lottery. Like it'll be easier. And so, you know, do a lot of research into the industry itself, and like you might also benefit, there might be people who like need to hear this, but like there are editors who just work with you on editing query letters.
Really?
Oh.
And that's like a whole specific separate service that they offer, sometimes in addition to other things. Because it, in a way, doesn't matter how good your book is if you have a bad query letter. Because the query letter is the first thing that they're going to read from you.
Yeah.
So if that's bad, they're going to think your book is bad. Even if it's not, you know, and it's a different skill set. Because like if you think about like, I don't know if you like can think of an example off the top of your head. You don't even have to name it. But like, have you ever read a book that you love and then when you read the description on the back of the book, it's like, what was that?
What is this?
They're two separate different things. They're you know, like a book blurb is there to like sell the book, you know, and like the book is the book.
Yeah.
And so I think that people just maybe don't think about that too deeply until they're like in the trenches and then have gotten a bunch of rejections, and then they're like,
Yeah.
what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You know?
Because your query letter is sort of like your cover letter on a resume, like when you're applying for a job. Like that thing that tells them exactly why you're worth hiring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Another way
And-
you could think
and-
of it is like an audition for an actor versus actually performing.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And in a way, sometimes worse too, because it's like, to just throw a third analogy in there. I liken it to being like you're thrown on stage, and you have to do a magic trick, and the entire audience is magicians. And so like
Yeah.
you know, and it's like almost like harder than a cover letter too, because your query letter has to both convey your book, its idea, its characters, like go in like more into depth than a book blurb, because these are professionals. Like, they do have to have like a deeper level of like what's actually happening in your book, like plot wise, so that you know, they like understand that, and you're conveying the tone, so it has to kind of like sound like the book, sound like your voice, so hopefully that's like defined, and you're like trying to be witty and stand out from like hundreds of other people, and so
no big deal.
Yeah, so
That's
don't rush into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't just like ChatGPT a query letter and then like you're gonna be okay. You know, like
Everyone else is doing the same thing too, so they're gonna get 30 cover letters that are the same ChatGPT script.
Yeah. Like, I never even thought about that with like a query letter. Like, I didn't realize it had to be the tone of like the book and everything like that. I always just figured it was your voice that you had to write it in, not in like your writer's voice, but like your personal voice. So that's a really good fact to know.
Well, the like both. You know, like there's definitely advice out there that's like, you know, you just have to write about your book and it's very like cut and dry. But then there's always like exceptions to every rule, and I don't know if you've ever heard of like Red Rising by, I think it's like Pierce Brown.
It's still on my list of books I'm waiting for the library to send me.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Okay, no
Just
spoilers.
about the
Good.
business side.
Perfect.
He queried that book and got like a bunch of rejections, and then he redid his query letter in the voice of the main character.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And that's what stood out in the crowd. And and I think he talked about it in like, I saw a panel or something online. It's not like I actually know who he is. He has no idea who I am. And he was just kind of like, you know, everybody said not to do it. But that's what stood out for him, you know? And it works because when you read that book, you'll see there's a very specific like tone and style and voice in that book, and so bringing that to the query letter like was a strong choice, and that's not always going to be the case, you know. But
yeah, I wonder if there's a way in which, I know that there's a querying site, and I'm sure we'll get to this more in depth when we talk to the literary agent that's coming on later, but I wonder if there is a way you could almost do like trial reels but with query letters, where you write one that's like just your voice and then you write one that's in your character's voice and you send them out and you just see which one does better.
I did this out of the podcast. This is $1 million idea.
Okay,
oh
okay.
my god, yeah. Do you understand how many hundreds of customers you would have on day one?
Oh, that'd be so great. I'd be the customer.
incredible.
I am the customer.
Business idea.
I feel like every episode when we're talking, they come up with another one. There's too many.
Always.
Yeah, the book is never going to get finished because you're just too busy, like, thinking up new business ideas.
Right. Well, that's why
Doing
Darcy's
everything
doing
else.
the main stuff, and I'm just helping along the way with all the outlining and concepting and editing, and I mean, we're both
That's so
equally.
interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun process. It's been cool. It works well with our strengths.
Yeah, definitely.
We're doing it a much more unique way than most co-writers do it. So
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that
Pretty
this is
fun.
how, like, starting off, like, writing your first novel as a solo person, like, I don't think you could do any of this as a solo person. Like, not that we are so unique or so special, but that, like, it truly takes two people doing it this way with differing skill sets to be able to do the way that we've structured it. And we've purely just structured it around what those skill sets are. So that's all. That's it.
Yeah. It's like, it's just, the product is, like, born from, like, the structure of your friendship, basically.
Yeah. And our film experiences together.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of film, actually, I know that this is kind of out of left field, but do you have any insight or like thoughts around like the book to movie deal process at all for any authors that maybe are already published, successfully published, or anything in that realm?
Yeah, super easy question. Thank you.
I'm just teeing you up.
I don't know. I think that, like, I would say, as like if you're like a baby author, it's probably unlikely that it's going to happen to you. Like, just to be real, you can't chase it. You have to really like, you have to look at your book as like, this is your art, and just make it the best as possible. But to like kind of take a step back and look at like in publishing, film, TV industries as a whole, I think that, like, it's in such a weird spot.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
really like a cresting wave of change, and nobody really knows, you know, how things are gonna shake up. And I think a lot of that is really just economic insecurity, meeting AI, meeting like, you know, the consolidation of all these different platforms now, and like, you know, streaming being a new cable, and there's so many different factors that kind of go into it. But I think that in general, it's so much easier to be on the side of film and TV and to invest in an adaptation of something that has already gotten success, because it really like is like, it plays into this idea of like, our product that we're making will be successful because it's already achieved success in publishing.
That's
And
exactly
so,
why we wrote the book. Or why we're writing the book. It started off as a screenplay. Yeah.
yeah.
Gotta have
And
that IP.
so, yeah, and you're right. They're like, it's never the other way around. There's never like a book based on the movie, you know? Like, there should be.
It'd probably be pretty easy to write, to be honest. Like, let me have a screenplay, and I'm just going to flesh it all out. Even bigger.
I feel like I am actually wrong, because the books that are based on like film and TV are like behind the scenes, you know, just like,
Right.
lame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody reads that.
Yeah. But all of this can't come
yeah.
about unless you have a really good story that people identify with, and that's where developmental editing comes into play.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like, that's like kind of the last word, is like, if you're gonna put an investment time or money into this thing that's your artwork, like, you have to really like try your best to make it the best that it could possibly be. And that could be editing, or that could be in the graphic design of the cover, because it's a book.
Yeah.
People are going to judge it based on what it looks like, and then like a really good cover could get people to buy your book, but a really good story is what gets them to finish it.
Yes. Yeah, that's
There
great.
you go. That's a
I love
great
it.
line.
That's the tagline right there.
Off the dome. Off the dome. It's just
Wrap it up. We're done.
We're done here. Well, so, Amanda, is there anything currently that you're working on, or that you want to promote, or anything like that to our listeners?
I like, as far as like my clients' work, I unfortunately don't have anything that I can really share.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're not really sharing. Yeah.
Totally fine.
They haven't
But what
decided.
about you?
I got
your,
nothing.
your
no.
business.
So if you are listening and you have a question, or you want to get in touch, then you can find me on Instagram or TikTok. Don't judge the content too harshly. It's very awkward. And I am an elder millennial. And, you know,
Aren't we all?
just putting that disclaimer, whatever. You can find me there at frompage.one. And that's also my website, frompage.one.
Nice.
My DMs are open.
Nice. Love
There
it.
you go. Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, send
You
any
should reach
questions
out,
Amanda's
ask her
way.
some questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like chronically online, so I'll be
I think
there.
that's most authors. Most people in the writing biz. Yeah. No, for real. I will say, like, one of the things that really, really stuck out to me was what you're talking about, like, don't be green going into, like, conversations with literary agents. And the way that I took that was, like, spend time building a relationship, even if it's more of just, like, a social media one, of, like, research and find the people that you want to represent your book, follow their social media, and then interact and engage with them, and see if there's still someone that you want to represent your book. And then you have more of a soft or a warm intro going into that conversation, which I think a lot of people when they hear networking is like, ew, yuck, I don't network. I am an introvert. I stay in my hobbit hole and write books. Or they're like, I don't want to be fake, or I want to, you know, it feels too like forced and stiff. And it's like, just making it that bite-sized element of like, just interact with them on social media. Or if you're going to an event they're at, just stop by and say hi, put a face to a name. But don't, like, you don't have to go in with these, you must represent my book, I have to sell myself to you, if you're just going there to connect and build a relationship. So I thought that was really, really cool to hear.
Yeah, and I think to your point too, like if you're just kind of coming at it with like, I literary agent person, I really like all your clients. I've read all their work. Like, I really like your taste. And you just leave it at that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm not even
yeah.
asking something from you. Like, that's going to get you farther than I need you to represent my book.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
that's just like what all querying authors do, when they're pitching themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does take more runway. It's like you do want to start that process months before you would even want to approach them with something, because that's how it grows organically and naturally. And you may
Yeah.
also find out you don't like them. Like, you might do research and think, oh, I want to be represented by this person. And then you interact and you're like, I don't think that's the vibe.
Yeah.
Thanks, though.
Or you maybe like do a little digging and see who they follow, and then if they're following some problematic people, like that
Yeah.
that influences your decision, at least, because I think what we didn't touch on in the episode was that there's also like vanity publishers out there
Yeah.
who like they charge you to pay to like publish your book. And yeah, no, it's a total scam. And like if you just were to look one up, it looks legitimate, and it's like until you're really like in it. And especially too, if you can like, you don't even have to build connections with people who you're trying to get something from, even if it's just like other authors who, if you just like meet up with them at conventions or a million different ways that you can kind of connect with them, and then they can be an ear. So at least if you're like, what do you think about this person, or do you know anybody who's rep by this person, or like is that publisher like reputable, or like this graphic designer, who's the graphic designer that you worked with on that cover, because I really like it. Like that's what it is like networking. And it's books. Like like you could just talk to people about books, like that's if you're listening to this podcast, that should be very easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you just get to like just gab about something you already love. So just take the pressure off that you have to sell yourself or your concept, and just connect with people.
Totally. I love talking about books. I love getting book recommendations.
Right.
I love when people take my book recommendations and then come back to me and tell me how amazing it was.
Yeah.
And then they like feed my ego and tell me I have incredible taste, So
Yeah, speaking
just do that.
What's on your TBR? Do you have anything that you're reading right now, just in general, just for fun, not work related?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm reading two things right now, and I'm like, I was in a slump for so long, and this is like chef's kiss. Perfect. I am listening to the audiobook of The Magnificence of Death by Ray Rainwater. And she's an indie author, and like it's like the most incredible debut book that I've ever read. Ooh. I've already read it, and now I'm listening to it again because it just released like a week or two ago.
Okay.
And it's like, it's so lovely. It's about grief, and it's like,
oh wow,
there's like a really beautiful love story with like a woman with like a curse in her family line, and like she's like haunted by death, and they kind of have this like incredible relationship. And
sounds like Holes. Like a whole throwback. His family line cursed.
What a comparison.
It's
just from
nothing,
that synopsis.
nothing like Holes.
This is why you need beta reading, guys. Look at where I took it. A completely different direction.
I would say, if I'm going to comp it, I would say something more like The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, but I guess Holes too, in a very roundabout way.
I'm adding that to my TBR.
Oh,
that sounds
that's
really
very
good.
nice. I highly recommend that one. And then I'm also reading an advanced copy of a trilogy that's called The Heirs of the Shattered Kingdom? No, The Heirs of the Shattered Veil by Celan Dorrington. And
Cool.
that one's really good. That's like fae romantasy, and there's like a prophecy, and like the world is gonna end, but they have like this like kind of enemies to lovers thing, which is just
that's my jam.
Darcy's just, her TBR just grew 2 more.
sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Don't I know you can't get me
It's my bread
talking
and
about
butter.
books like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have like
I get it.
75 other ones that I can recommend to you.
I love it. But
Well, if
that's
anybody's interested in all of your 75 more, they should definitely check out your website, though, then from page.one and your socials.
Send me an
They
email.
can talk to you about them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Until you get sick of me, like, God, leave me alone. My TBR is just like,
Oh, no.
Too much.
can't
No,
help
it's
it.
good. I feel like having a good, robust TBR, though, is good. It gives you some options to pick from if you ever get to a point where you're like, I'm done with this genre right now, or I need something different. Just pop on over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I'm gonna like my grandkids are gonna be finishing my TBR at this point. So
What
Oh,
a
me
blessing
too.
and
Oh,
curse.
gosh.
yeah, so help me out. I'll
Yeah,
recommend a couple of books to you, and then you can tell me if they were good or not. So
I love it. I love it. There you go. It's a team effort.
it really is.
All right. Well, Amanda, one more time, will you plug where we can find you at, where listeners can
Sure.
find you at?
Frontpage.one is my website, and that's also my social media handles for Instagram and TikTok, and that's really it.
Amazing. I love it. Darcy, where
Perfect.
can they find us?
Oh, gosh. You can find us just about anywhere.
We
We're
are in a
on-
lot of spots. Oh, YouTube.
We're
I
on-
forgot YouTube earlier.
Oh, no. Okay, well,
dare
we're
ya.
on...
Sorry. Go ahead, Darcy.
We got TikTok and Instagram under Untitled Workin' Podcast, as well as Instagram under Misty Morning Stories and Darcy_Michaela. We've also got YouTube at Misty Morning Stories, Facebook Misty Morning Stories, and
Threads.
Lauren's got her what?
Threads.
Oh, Threads. Right. I always forget about Threads at Misty Morning Stories and Darcy_Michaela. Mine's more just chaos posting on Threads. But Lauren's got her website, mistymorningstories.com. Got my website, darcymichaela.com.
We're gonna need those really sped up versions of when you watch a pharmaceutical commercial and it's it could have all these things. We're gonna need that for all of our handles.
Maybe I should narrow it down to, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Untitled Workin' Podcast and Misty Morning Stories, as well as our website, mistymorningstories.com.
There you go. Well, I don't know.
And where can you listen to the podcast again?
Wherever you listen to
Spotify,
podcasts.
Pocket Casts,
Yeah, we're on
Apple
Pocket Cast now.
Music, or Apple Podcasts.
Apple iTunes.
It's
YouTube.
not iTunes anymore. It's Apple
it's not?
Podcasts.
What?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
iTunes on there. I
podcast.
should know. My bad. I don't know. It
You can
goes
find
out
us
into
just
the-
about anywhere.
One last question: is there any other social media platform that exists, or have you covered them all?
I'm working on our Substack.
We also have a Twitter account.
Do you have a Medium?
I don't
The
have that
ghosts
yet.
can find us.
Not like that.
I
You know, it might just be easier for you guys to be just Google Untitled Workin' Podcast and then just see what comes up.
Any spot.
We're everywhere.
Maybe we'll plug our websites later and just do websites because everything's tagged through the website.
That's fair, yeah, just eventually. Just the website.
You know what's so funny though? I know
love
this is so that we're going long, but when we first started the podcast, we were 5 episodes in, and one of our guests was like, "Well, where can I find you?" And I was like, "Oh, we've never mentioned that before." Thank you, Skip.
Yeah,
Skip, looking out for us.
Yeah.
Literally our
That's so
first
cute.
guest.
Yeah,
Well, you live and learn. It's all right.
yeah. It's been a lot of learning
Now you
on
can
this
find
podcast.
us everywhere.
I know,
right?
Maybe I'll add podcasts to my, service offerings. Then you
Hey, there you go.
launch a podcast and tag yourself right away. That's tip number 1.
There you go. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thanks for
Thank you for
coming.
coming.
This has been so
Yeah.
fun.
Let me do my sign off really quick, and then I'm gonna gush all about you.
Oh, okay. I thought you already did.
I know. That's why when you were saying that, I was like, wait, hang on, one more thing.
Okay.
I don't even know if I'm gonna edit this.
It's just gonna be You know, like the fast forward sound of the VCR.
Yeah.
Listen to it in 2 times speed.
All right, Darcy, close it out.
All right. Well, remember, guys, everybody's a work in progress. It's a process. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Already, Darcy.
Right away. All right.
All right, get it out now. Drinking out of her vase.
Yeah, right? Like, this thing's huge.
It's so big.
Okay.
It's gonna be your gimmick. Every episode now, you need like a different vase to drink out of.
Oh, no.
Season 3.
I'm trying to get us that bubbly sponsor. I'm always drinking that.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, someday.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Ha. Don't laugh. Okay.
Just kind of hide my face.
Please. Okay.
Please, please hide your face. We're already a minute in. No luck.
We're doing a great job. Thanks for coming, Amanda.
Yeah, I know, right? She's already crying.
I can't. I'm trying to like hold back the laughter, and it's like harder than if I could just like chuckle.
Just go for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just take a sip of water. Hold on.
She gets it. Amanda gets it.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Didn't even plan that. It just happened to be right there.
That's perfect.
That's so good.
This will go in the bloopers for sure.
Yes.
We haven't had bloopers in a while.
We have not.
We've been so professional up until now.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I could tell.
All right.
All right. All right, I'm ready. Okay. Hey guys, and welcome back